Hello and welcome to the Life as a Fitness Instructor podcast. My name is Lorna Marie and I'm your host. I'm a fitness presenter, brand creator of Yogascape, fitness instructor and wife and dog mum to little Harvey. Through this podcast, I really want to inspire and share tips and tricks and really be that friend in your headphones or your earbuds that I feel I never really had in the industry until now. So I'm trying to share as much of my passion with you as I possibly can so you can learn from me and everyone else who I interview on this podcast from their years of experience in the industry. If you enjoy this podcast and you get value from it, please do like, subscribe and share on your socials so we can help other people in this incredible industry where we get to change lives, but one that can also be really quite tough at times too. Let's support one another and lift each other up. I hope you enjoy this episode. A very warm welcome to the podcast, Esther. Now, Esther is the boss lady of Powerhoop Fitness and also Golden Goose Fitness. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Hi. Thanks for having me, Lorna. Lovely to meet you.
Oh, it is lovely to meet you too. Well, we officially first met at IFS, didn't we, a few weeks ago? I can't believe that was 4 weeks ago now.
I know, it's crazy. That time has flown by, and it's such a huge event as well. The whole event just passes in a flash, doesn't it? It's gone. But yeah, no, that was great. And it was your first IFS, wasn't it? So all good.
Yeah, it was. It was our debut at IFS. We were up on the big stage for
Amazing.
EMD UK, which was huge privilege, massive event. But I know what you mean. You felt like you blinked and then the whole thing was over.
It's just gone. All that preparation, all the weeks of practice preparation, and for power hoop logistics, because we've got to get the hoops up to the event, right? Which you saw us actually building the hoops, didn't you? You were there. But it's a great event to be part of, and there are lots of great events, and that one is just very big and can be a bit overwhelming, but it's also a great buzz, right?
Oh, a huge buzz. How did you actually get all the hoops? I'm interested. How did you get them all there?
Well, we Power Hoop, we design our own hoops, so it's completely ours. It's patented, trademarked, and everything. And so we manufacture the hoops, and we have our warehouses in Watford. So anybody who orders a Power Hoop, and we ship all around Europe and certain parts of the world as well, they're all shipped out of our warehouse in Watford. So when we go to an event, our logistics manager, Mark, I'll say, Mark, I need 80 hoops going to Blackpool, and they get shipped up there, and then we have to build them, which is exactly when you saw myself and Kerry, who's our other master trainer and stage presenter. There's two of us who sort of travel around. You saw us building the hoops, and we had 80 hoops at IFS, and it took us about just less than 2 hours to build the hoops. So yeah, and we have to factor that in for every event. Not every event. Some events. I'm at an event tomorrow actually, and then next weekend, of course, we're at Woodley Hall, Project Mayhem. When the events are smaller, I can put the hoops in the back of my car. I can fit about 40 hoops in my car. So yeah, have hoops. We'll travel. I'll go anywhere with the hoops. Anywhere anybody wants to have me, I'll go with the hoops. So.
40 hoops is good going in the back of your car. That's a lot of hoops.
Yeah, it is a lot of hoops. I can't really see that well out the back window, but 40 hoops will fit in the car just so.
That's brilliant. Well, I would love to know a bit about you, Esther, first, kind of where you started off in the industry, and then we'll come back to Power Hoop and you tell us all about how that came about. So Where did you first get into fitness? What's your background?
So I've always been somebody who's been really physically active and always been, fit, as in I've always really enjoyed physical activity. I've always been a runner. I've spent years, I lift a lot of weights. I've spent years in gym. So that's always been part of who I am. And I am a qualified marketeer. So actually, I was a translator, first of all. I did a degree in German and Spanish, and I lived in Germany and Spain, and then I worked as a translator. And then I did a postgrad in marketing. And then I started working in the early 90s for a big company called Reuters in marketing. And I started as a junior. And then I sort of went high up the scale and ended up I look back at it now and think, my God, how did I have that job? I had a big job running a big marketing team. Anyway, like a lot of companies, they change over the years, and I took voluntary redundancy. And at that point, I thought, do you know what? I want to teach. I want to do something different. So I started teaching Spanish, tutoring Spanish, and at the same time, I took my ETM, my exercise to music qualification. And that happened because I used to go to a Saturday morning aerobics class, a real old school aerobics class, which I love. I still teach old school aerobics. It's the best thing. It's like legs, bums, and tums. It never goes out of date. It's just such a joy to teach. And I used to go to a Saturday morning class up at my local squash club with a woman called Maureen. And Maureen was like, do you know what? I'm not sure I can do this anymore. She said, would you be interested in covering some of my classes? And I said, well, I'm not qualified. And she went, oh, go and do your exercise to music. And basically, that's how it happened. So, I'd planned to take a year off. I'd been made redundant. I had a little bit of money. And I thought, no, now's the time. So, and I'm very much an opportunities person. If I like something, I jump on it. So I spent 6 months doing my ATM, and anybody who's done that, as I'm sure you have, is it's a big old piece of work to do. Great fun, but it's a lot of work, right? Um, and I started taking over Maureen's classes more and more. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to launch my own classes. So I did a couple of other licenses, brands that we know, Club of Size. I thought, this is great. This is really good fun. I want to do this. Then I found Powerhoop. And then I started teaching boxing as well. And I was trampolining for a while as well. And so I just added more classes on, and then I built up Golden Goose Fitness. And I think because I've had this background working, for years in a big job, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I launched. So rather than just having classes, I wanted to build a program and create a club. So it was going to be like a membership more than anything, rather than individual classes. Yeah, and that's what happened. And I launched. My friends all jumped on, and then their friends jumped on, and yeah, so Golden Goose Fitness was born 10 years ago now, and there we go. And along the way, obviously, Power Hoop, my heart and soul. I started teaching Power Hoop, and very quickly they said, "Oh, do you want to be a master trainer? Do you want to do some choreography for other Power Hoop instructors?" And I started doing that. And then they started saying, do you want to come into the studio? And we'll talk a little bit more about that because we've got a streaming channel. Do you want to film for us? Which is really exciting. And then the boss of Power Hoop said, oh, you speak German, don't you? And I said, yeah. And in lockdown, I started training Power Hoop instructors in Germany online with my German. Um, and that's how that started. And I started working at HQ. And then most recently, the owner of Power Hoop has said, you know what, I don't really want to do Power Hoop Fitness anymore. Have it. So that's how it happened that I sort of said, oh yes, happy days, fantastic. I'll run it. I'm happy to do that. And that's how, in a really condensed life story, that's how I've got to where I've got to today.
Gosh, so some real big changes actually. So from going to the corporate world to completely leaving it, tutoring and doing group exercise, kind of starting
Yeah.
from scratch without even thinking that you were going to be doing it, from
Yeah.
then being the boss of Power Hoop, from just teaching it. And also, in the meantime, being asked to film and do it in German. There's some real big kind of milestones in there. How
Yeah.
I would really love to know how it felt for you when you took the voluntary redundancy. Like that's quite a big, scary move. How did it
Mm.
feel then from going to, well, just yeah, having that year? What did you actually want to do with that year? Did you just want to take some time out, or were you looking for other things to do in that year?
I mean, I was ready to exit, and for me, it was really exciting. It was just a golden opportunity, and of course, it was a little bit daunting because everything you've known, um, it has suddenly gone. But at the same time, I thought, I've got an opportunity now, and not many people are gifted that opportunity. And I've worked really hard for those 20 years. But even before voluntary redundancy, I was thinking, do you know what? I want to do something different. Really want to do something. And the thought of being able to combine teaching, which is what I really love, and fitness is what led me to think, actually, I'm going to do my exercise to music. I don't think it's called ETM anymore. I think it's called group exercise with music or something. So yeah, it was a little bit daunting. but I really like being busy. I like wearing a lot of hats. I wear other work hats today still, as well as my fitness hat. So I still teach in Spanish, and I'm a writer as well. So I'm a copywriter, and I have a couple of clients that I write for. I write press releases, newsletters, and things like that. So I like being busy, which is a good job, right? But yeah, I just thought, you know what, life is pretty short. I'm going to seize this, and just grab it and just go with it, and use all the knowledge I'd had from being in the city. And I realised now I was really lucky to have all that knowledge. So I knew how to manage teams. I knew how to run a business, because at one point I was managing, units within Reuters. So I managed teams. I knew how to manage budgets. I knew how to, and obviously I, worked in marketing, so I knew how to launch businesses. So yeah, I think I was just really lucky. But that's not to say I haven't worked hard for what I've done. And I think so many people nowadays just think things are down to luck, and they're not. You make the best of the opportunities that you've had, and you've got to make things happen. Otherwise, nobody's going to do it for you.
Such an important message. You built up that skill set with everything you learned from your previous job, from your corporate job, and then the rest of it is hard work and putting it all into practice in a different area, a different field. My journey when I first started out, it's quite similar to yours in a way, with the languages. So I did a degree in French, and I wanted,
Wow.
yeah. So I'm actually a qualified French teacher. So I did my PGCE, but at the same time, I
Well, we've
was
got a lot in
teaching
common then. That's
fitness.
great.
Yeah, I worked in a big corporation, decided that really wasn't for me, left and pursued the teaching side. And whilst I was teaching French in my PGCE, that's when I qualified in all my Group X. And I was doing that at the same time, and then kind of
Oh my
followed
goodness, that's such
that
a
route.
similar story.
Yeah, really similar. But I do think that it is that being able to teach, like carry on teaching, 'cause it's something you really love and feel really passionate about, but in a different setting, and using those skills in a different
Yeah.
way, and the corporate background, those skills to build a business as well, and to know what you need to do, how to market, how to run a business. I
Yeah,
think it's
absolutely.
really interesting, isn't it? That
Yeah.
I think as well, another big thing with group fitness, sorry, this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think we can learn a lot from other industries as group
Oh,
fitness
for sure.
professionals. And I don't think we do. I think quite often we look just within the fitness industry for inspiration, new ideas, business ideas, when actually we could be learning so much from other fields of work and putting it into play in Group X.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And I think, there are some groups that are doing some really good work now, recognizing that as a community group exercise instructor, because first and foremost, that's what I am. If you leave aside all the Powerhoop stuff, I wouldn't be where I was today without my girls, right? So first and foremost, my biggest hat and my most important hat is that community group exercise instructor, and recognizing what you do and the role you play, and how important what you do is for those people. And at the beginning of the call, we were chatting about lockdown, and that was really apparent in lockdown. And people were saying that the fact that you did what you did online, people are saying it almost saved my life, because I had that routine, I had the structure, the classes at the same time. And so as a group exercise instructor, the classes, the structure, the community, the togetherness, the feeling of belonging, the power that, that community and the power physical exercise gives people is unbelievable. And I think as a community group exercise instructor, it can feel overwhelming to have to do your own marketing. You're your own finance person, you're your marketeer, you're your IT person. You wear all these hats, and you're self-employed, and you have to do your tax return and all these bits and pieces. And so you are a business person, and you're a teacher, and you're a fitness professional, and you wear all these hats, and people underestimate what group exercise instructors do. And learning from other industries, I think, is really, really key. And I just think we are very inward looking. We don't take those experiences and learn from them. And I think all of the sort of conferences and the events and everything, it'd be great to have some people coming along from other industries to say, well, this is how we work, other professionals. So there's an idea there, isn't there? We've just come up with an idea There's an idea there for an event to have some people come along and from other industries and talk about what they've learned and how they run things and how what their working life is like and what we can learn from them and vice versa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head there. And as group fitness instructors, I think the classes actually end up becoming a really small part of what we do.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that goes into it that a lot of people don't understand, whether you're out in the community or you're doing it online. So much work goes behind just that, even if it's one class. How do you manage that, Esther? How do you manage to balance wearing all these hats and being a super busy fitness professional, doing all these different things, and also have time for you? Because I know work-life balance can be really, really tricky in lots of industries, but particularly in our industry.
Yeah, and it is difficult because, as you know, you could be jumping around early in the morning or in the evening or in the middle of the day. So yeah, I do wear a lot of hats, and I am a very, a very busy lady, and I love work. I've always had a really, really strong work ethic, so I love what I do, and that helps massively. So I never think, oh, whereas I thought that in the city for 20 years. But now I think there are some days, of course, I think, I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper. I'm very structured with my time, so I try not to blur the lines. So, and I teach about 15 classes a week now, not just my own, but I also teach in some gyms as well, which I only started doing last year, which is bonkers. So I now teach. I'm the oldest I've been, obviously, and I now teach more classes than I've ever taught, and it should probably be the other way around. But I just love what I do. But I'm very structured with my time. So, for example, as an example, on Tuesdays, I have 5 classes in total, 3 in the morning and 2 in the evening. In the daytime, then, I won't suddenly go to my desk and be at my desk doing something. I'm thinking, right, Tuesday is purely a fitness day. On another day of the week, it might only have 1 class, and I think, right, that's going to be a day when I'm at my desk doing stuff. So I try to stay in the same work lane, if that makes sense, and try not to, because if you're wearing different hats, to suddenly put one hat off and then take one off can be a real challenge because the thinking process is quite different. Um, so if I've got new power hoop instructors to qualify and they've submitted their qualification videos, I think, right, I'm going to set aside this amount of time to do that, and I'm not going to do anything else. If I'm doing marketing for my classes, I think I'm going to get all that done on a Sunday, schedule my post, and that's that done. And it sounds really simple, and it's not, but I do try and stay in that work lane and not blur things too much as best as I can, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's a
Not
really
easy
good.
though. It's not easy, and sometimes I have to wear more than one hat, but I just try to think, okay, I'm going to do that today and that tomorrow, and try not to blur the lines too much.
It's really good advice. I find that quite often I'll be at my desk doing something, and then I see a message come through, and then I look at that, then I want to answer that, and then I get into a bit of a
Mm,
wormhole, and then social media happens, and I go back to think, what was I actually doing again?
I know,
Oh
I
yeah.
know.
And you just waste so much time trying to pick things back up when actually, if you could just focus on that one thing, do it really well, then move on.
Yeah.
Or yeah, have that day just dedicated to whatever so you can really get in the zone.
It sounds really idealistic. And the other thing as well, which I swear by, is turning off notifications on my phone. So if I'm doing something and I don't want to be disturbed, I think, do you know what? I'm perfectly within my rights to turn off notifications. And, I will now go into WhatsApp when it suits me to have a look. I turned off my blue ticks, which was really liberating. Turning off the blue ticks on WhatsApp, because that whole thing of, somebody's asked me about coming to a class, I must reply. No, I'm going to reply in good time, so obviously, they get the information they need, but I don't have to reply immediately. And that's really liberating. And I've given that advice to a couple of other people. They were like, oh my God, I've turned off my notifications. It's a game changer, literally. So it's a small thing, but it does help.
It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah,
Dragging your phone into aeroplane mode or do not disturb. It's like, yes, this is my
totally.
time right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's difficult, isn't it? And I think social media is so difficult for people because if you're not present or you're not seen to be online, even the toughest of people can sometimes get the EBGBs and think, oh my God, I haven't posted, I haven't done anything. Are people going to forget about me? So I think that's one of the biggest things for people to juggle. And when I started in the industry 10 years ago, social media didn't have the relevance and the dominance that it does now, right? It was, I launched all my fitness business on Facebook, but then a lot of it was word of mouth and local marketing. But now, if you're not online, then you're invisible effectively. And that's a huge pressure for a lot of people and young instructors as well, because how would they necessarily know what time is a good time to post or how to launch an event or what's happening in the background of Instagram? Why aren't my posts successful? I think the powers that be in the fitness world could really do a better job of equipping young instructors with what they might need to launch their business successfully, and social media is a massive part of that.
It is. Social media is a huge part of it. It is
Yeah.
crazy, how many posts do you do? What time do you post? How do you work the algorithm? And I think the problem is even the so-called experts don't really know because it changes so
No,
quickly,
it
and it's
really
trying to
does.
keep up with it and keep up to date with it. But I've seen your power hoop stuff, and I think you do a fantastic job. So Esther, could
Oh,
you
thank you.
tell us a bit more about power hoop, what you're currently doing with it at the moment, and
Mm.
what now you're in charge of it. What does that look like for you?
So Powerhoop has been around a long time. We are in the group exercise sort of sector, but we're a little bit different because we're not dance fitness. Because in a power hoop class you hoop, but then we do a whole lot of other stuff as well. So you're going to get cardio, you're going to get some HIIT in there. We do a lot of toning and strengthening and conditioning because the hoops are big and they're weighted, right? They're adjustable weighted, so your hoop can be the weight that you want it to be. So we sort of play in the same field as the really big dance fitness brands, but we're kind of a little bit different. And there's three parts to the sort of overarching power hoop brands. You've got hoop sales, and we sell hoops everywhere. Um, then you've got Power Hoop Fitness, which is what I'm in charge of, and then we've got Power Hoop TV, which is we've got a streaming channel. So we film content for that, and we have subscribers who want to hoop at home, and they can. The thought of it gives me heebie-jeebies. Saturday morning, they've got Power Hoop TV on, and they're jumping around with me on their screen, or any one of our other amazing presenters that we've got. We've got a really brilliant team. So there's three parts to the business. And we've got a great team at HQ. We all work really closely together because if somebody buys a hoop, they may be interested in becoming an instructor and they may want to subscribe to Power Hoop TV. So we're not just about fitness and fitness events, instructors and classes. And yeah, I think it's very, very interesting because during the pandemic we went a little bit quiet, and in the last couple of years we've been working really hard to sort of get back out there again and go to events, and people are like, oh, power hoop, you guys, you used to jump around, and we're like, yeah. So we went a bit quiet, and now we're really back. And in the last couple of years we've been to a lot of events. We've really looked hard at our marketing. We've really looked hard at what our offering is for our instructors as well. And we're back, and it's great. And it's really interesting because we're really, really popular in Germany. So we have as many instructors in Germany as we do in the UK, which is interesting. So, literally almost like for like. And obviously that's helped with me speaking German. But Germans love hula hoop. Literally, it's a fact. I don't know why, but in lockdown, hooping went off the scale in German-speaking countries, and in Germany in particular. It's also really popular in Austria and Switzerland. So we saw an opportunity there, and we trained a lot of German power hoop instructors. And our Instagram feed is full of a lot of really, really big power hoop fans in German-speaking countries, and of course in the UK. So now our aim is to launch further into Europe. We're looking at Spanish-speaking countries, obviously, to speak Spanish too, which is really exciting. And we're looking a little bit further afield as well. We've got some instructors in the US. We've got some instructors in New Zealand. We're looking in Asia as well. But the bread and butter of what we do is all of our fantastic instructors in the UK and Germany. Yeah, the girls who are out there teaching week in, week out. It's an easy class to love because it's so much fun. It can sometimes seem to people who are thinking about qualifying, I'm not going to be able to do it because I don't know how to hoop. there's this kind of instant thing where people go, I can't hula hoop, I'm not going to be able to teach it. Well, of course, we teach people how to hoop, and we have a very specific technique, which isn't the kind of side to side hula hoop technique. It's all about a front to back motion to engage the whole of your core, right? So it's not just your tummy muscles, it's your hips, your glutes, your lower back. And once people learn the technique that we use and they're like, oh, I'm hooping, oh my God, this is brilliant, it's so much fun, then they really start to love the workout. And the classes are really popular. There are some amazing brands out there at the moment, as we know, in the marketplace. And one of the things that I loved about Powerhoop when I first qualified as instructor is that the retention rates are incredible. So I've got people hooping with me now who've been hooping with me for 10 years.
Wow.
And and the longevity is incredible. Retention rates are great. And it's a really fun class to teach. It's a great workout. There's so many things you can do with the hoop. It's not just hooping. We don't just hoop. People realize that we've got all this great cardio happening. The hoop is an amazing tool for strength and conditioning and toning. So yeah, it's really good fun and it's really unique. So and it's exciting. So every day I feel really excited about the opportunities that we have. And so my brain is constantly working. So yeah, the little bit of downtime that I probably had before taking over has now gone. But that's okay because that's just the way that it is, right? If you do what you love like you do, then you're in a really good place. And I feel really, really fortunate. So there we go. I'm not sure what else I can say about Powerhoop. Clearly, my love and passion for Powerhoop is like everywhere. So just as it is for you with Yogascape, I mean, you're doing great stuff. You've been nominated for all those awards. It's incredible. You should feel really proud.
Thank you so much. No, I really do. I really do. And I can completely resonate with the whole, it's really exciting. And my brain never switches off too, because I'm constantly thinking of new ideas and what we've got coming up. But your passion really comes through when you're speaking about Powerhoop. And you can just really, really feel it and really feel that excitement. I really want to try it. I've not tried it
I'd
before.
love you
I
to
would
try
love
it.
to give it a go.
Yeah, I would love you to try it, and we can talk about that for sure. Because I think, interestingly enough, we have a lot of thinking about where our instructors come from. Our instructors will typically be, or a large part of our instructor, a large proportion of our instructors, maybe come from a yoga and Pilates background. And there's just a synergy there. I'm not quite sure why, but they might have been a yoga teacher. And I think there's something about this whole connection with the core, which is, Powerhoop really does give you amazing core strength. If you hoop every day, it gives you great balance, it gives you great coordination, it really improves your posture because you have to stand really tall and focus on what you're doing. So we have a lot of instructors who also, teach yoga and Pilates as well. So I'd love for you to try it, and I'm sure if you pick up the hoop, you'll be able to hoop pretty much straight away. I can just see it. I just know. I know when people pick up the hoop, I know who's going to be able to hoop straight away. I just know.
I look like a hula hooper. How many instructors do you have now, Esther? Over the UK and Germany, or worldwide? Because I know you said you've got some in the US as well.
Yeah, worldwide we've got about 150 instructors. But my aim is to grow that. There's two key things really. One is making sure that our instructors are happy, they have everything they need to be successful, whether that's great choreography or the support for their socials. So all of those things. And as a brand, as you know, it's our responsibility to make sure, you don't just go, right, that's it, off you go and teach Powerhoop, that you're there to support them in any way that they need. I get messages all the time from people saying, could you help with my social media? And that's my job now, is to look after them and make sure they're happy, as well as growing the brand and taking it to new markets, sharing another Powerhoop. But yeah, it's about 150 instructors. There are some markets that we can't play in due to sort of trademarking and that sort of thing. But yeah, where we can be, we want to grow. There are no Powerhoop instructors in South Africa. That's a market I'm looking at. We don't have anybody in Australia either. We always have a bit of an issue because we have to get the hoops there, and obviously, it costs in logistics term. So we're looking at how we can get logistics partners in other parts of the world so we can get the hoops out there and then train people. But yeah, and our instructors do an amazing job. They really, really do, and they love. Literally, it's like a little Powerhoop army. we're small-ish, but we are a fierce and very loyal army of power hoopers.
Oh, you sound amazing. Love the power hoop
Well,
gang.
yeah,
How do you
the power hoop crew.
Yeah, big love to the Power Hoop crew.
Oh,
How do you plan on getting into the other countries? So to say, for example, to go to South Africa, what would you need to do? Do you attend fitness festivals like you do in the UK? How do you go about doing that?
it'll be a mixture of things, really. So we would look for, and I am actually on the lookout. So if anybody listens to this podcast and you're somewhere else in the world and you're interested in being, the first power hoop instructor in, somewhere else, pop me a message. So I would probably, I will look for instructors. So I'm also having a little look on Facebook, instructors who look quite impressive, and then I kind of sometimes contact them and say, "If you thought about, power hoop, might you be interested?" The big thing though is just making sure that we can actually get the hoops there. So it all starts with whether we can get the hoops out into that marketplace, because there's no point launching somewhere if we can't get the hoops out there. And sometimes the cost is just prohibitive in terms of getting the hoops there. But I would look for instructors, get them on board, train them, and then we would get out there and see which events we can attend as well. So next year, later this year and next year, we're going to be going to Germany and attending events. We've been to Germany before, but I'm going to be taking the hoops on the road and going to Germany and other German-speaking countries. There's a couple of things I'm interested in Spain as well. And yeah, you sort of have to go out there and do a few masterclasses, get the brand known, and the same with you as well. You'll take Yogascapes where you can, and events are really important for doing that, I think, as well. And then just finding those early adopters, people who could be the first instructor there, and then grow it from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, exciting.
it's very exciting. So the future is going to be big. The future is going to be, well, kind of going worldwide and bigger for you guys at Power Hoop.
If we can, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. The ambition is there, and the dreams are there. It's just making it happen. So
I'm sure with your passion, your dedication, and your work ethic, you will make anything successful that you do. I really do
oh,
think that.
thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it's
And you
true.
too.
It's
Thank
true.
you.
150 instructors is something to be really, really proud of already anyway, but I can just tell you're definitely going places with this, even more so. So before we finish the podcast,
Yeah.
do you have any parting advice for instructors or something you wish you would have known when you first started out in the industry?
Oh my goodness. You mean along the lines of the note I would have written to my younger self? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, oh my goodness, totally. I think one of the biggest things is to, and this sounds really easy and maybe a bit of a daft thing to say, is to just have the courage of your convictions, and not to, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it, and to really, and as we were talking about the industry now, when I first started out, I didn't feel that there were people that I could ask. And what I love about the industry now is that all of the brands and the brand owners and the instructors, they all teach all these different different programs, and they do their own thing as well. But everybody's really communicating. And I think if people just thought, you know what, I'm just going to ask somebody, what would they do about that? Because I think you're a young fitness instructor, you've got all these hats to wear, as we said, you've got to launch your marketing, you've got to work out your costs. But don't be afraid to ask somebody who's already working in the industry, how do you do this? What do you do? Approach somebody, ask somebody. Um, and the other thing I would say is try and plan. Oh, with my headphone coming out, there we go. Try and plan for the quiet times as well as the busy times. So it's really easy when things are going well to think, oh, things are going really, really well. And to remember that there are definitely peaks and troughs throughout the year when you're teaching fitness, yeah? So the big February, the big October, when people come back to classes, try and use that time to maybe bank a little bit of money and keep it for when the times are quieter. That's one thing that I wish I would have done, because I was like, oh, October, it's amazing. I've had a really busy month, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm suddenly like, oh my goodness, December, everything's gone through the floor and I've still got to pay my bills. I think that's a big thing. So I just wish instructors had more help in terms of running their business, not just the teaching part, because that's the easy part, right? That's the stuff they can do. But in terms of actually how to manage their business a bit more effectively. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Plan for the times when things are quieter. Enjoy the busy times. And the other big thing as well, I would say, is do not run yourself into the ground. Give yourself a break. Make sure you actually take a bit of time out, because it can be exhausting.
It can be all consuming, can't it? When you love what you do, it doesn't feel like a job. You really do go all in, but sometimes that means that we can quite easily get burnt out too. So I think
Yeah,
that's
your body needs a break. You do a physical job, you do something that's really quite challenging. You need to take a break as well. And I think when instructors start, they're thinking, I have to be out there teaching every night of the week. I've got to launch as many classes as possible. See which classes work and build on that, and focus on making a couple of classes really popular, and then the rest will follow. So I think, having a couple of really busy classes rather than a lot of not so busy classes would definitely be the way to go if you can do it.
I think that's really good advice. Well, thank you so
Mm.
much for coming on the podcast. I've really loved this chat and I've loved hearing about your journey, Esther. So
Oh,
if
thanks for having me. I hope I haven't waffled on. I do like to talk.
we all love to talk.
We all love to talk. Yeah, we do. But thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy. It really has, and love to talk to you. And I'm excited for you, because you're doing really really great stuff, and you're working really hard, and you deserve that success. So enjoy the ride, because we're really privileged to do what we do, and as we know, it's a great industry to work in. It is exciting. It's really tough, but it is also really exciting. And there'll come a point in time where we have to hang up our trainers. I mean, I say I'm getting older, but I'm not going to tell you how old I am, because it just fills me with fear. But we're not going to be able to do what we do forever, right? So we've got to enjoy it whilst we can.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for your kind words. That's really, really nice. It's
Oh,
nice
you're
that
welcome. It's really
I'm
well
enjoying
deserved.
it all. Absolutely loving it. So if our listeners want to find out more about you and about Powerhoop, where can they follow you on social media, seeing as though we've been talking about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously follow the main Power Hoop page. You'll recognise us. We've got a little multicolored Power Hoop icon with a hoop around it, funnily enough. So follow us on our Facebook page. We've got a really big following on Instagram. We've got 20,000 followers on Instagram. And you'll see you'll see some great stuff on there. Hooping videos from our followers, hooping videos from our team as well. Or they can follow me on socials. I've got two pages. I've got my own page, and then I've got my business page, Esther White Golden Goose Fitness. But yeah, just get in touch. Let's be sociable, as they say. And of course, you go to our website, powerhoop.com. Look at the different hoops we have, and we've won awards for our hoops. There's lots of hoops out there on the marketplace, but I'm really proud of our hoops because we've won awards, and they are the best, of course. I'm going to say that on time. I have to say that, but it's true.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Esther, again. Really enjoyed today.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. Really lovely to meet you.
And if you enjoyed that episode, please like, subscribe, and share us on your socials at Yogascape Official or at Lorna Marie Fitness Official. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope this has been a source of inspiration for you.